Press the button, my friend.
The Out of Bounds Show is live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge in the Bank Plus studio.
Check it out.
All right, for those of you that are not going to attend one of the games tonight, Ole Miss, Louisiana Tech in baseball, Mississippi State and Southern Miss in baseball at the M-Braves ballpark, and/or Mississippi State, South Carolina hoops, you can go by Havana Smoke Shop in Jackson or at the Reservoir across from Shaggy's and grab you, 4 to 6 premium cigars, and you can throw some protein meat on the grill, light up a cigar, your beverage of choice, enjoy a ton of baseball and basketball tonight. So it's a big game day on a Tuesday. Is this the last day of February, Blake Mania? All right, how about that? I knew that. Live in the Bank Plus studio. Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Our next guest joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, and he is Brad Henderson, Ole Miss Baseball Network, and they'll head to Minneapolis this weekend. But before then, we got a couple of games against Louisiana Tech. And, hey, there's a lot of Lane Burroughs, there's a lot of Mississippi flavor on that La Tech squad, so we'll see how that looks. But I want to start with last weekend. Good morning, Brad Henderson. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Bo. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, Hindu, there was a meltdown on Friday in Starkville and Oxford. And holy smokes. And then everybody started to party and have fun over the weekend as the two teams did what they needed to do. We'll probably do this almost every week. I had Friday in, but also Saturday and Sunday were awesome. What was your takeaway on the Ole Miss Maryland series?
Well, obviously, anytime you can win a top 25 showdown, win the series, I think there's a lot of positives you take from that. But, we saw some areas where we were vulnerable. Saturday we win 12-6, but, give up we have 11 walks and 4 hit batters, and I think somebody told me there was 36 total walks on the weekend for both teams. So there was some ugliness to it as well. Friday was we faced a really good arm, an All-American in Jason Savacool, and he just kind of had us off balance all night, and then their offense came alive late. But obviously with the Hunter Elliott not being able to go this past weekend, I thought we were a little thin on arms and had to run a lot of true freshmen out there to get some innings under their belt. And, it wasn't what we had hoped early in the season. So obviously you hope they learn from that, and that's a teaching lesson, and they'll get better as the year goes on.
What do you think about the pitch clock? It's the buzz right now in baseball. You played at a high level at Ole Miss. You were a really good player. There's all kinds of discussions about how different this is for the pitcher-catcher combo. They talk pitch com, all this different stuff. It looks like the umpires are squeezing the zone some around the country. So we've got offensive fireworks, and it's not even hot yet. As someone who played but is also hearing things from Bianco and Lafferty and other coaches, how do you think the pitch clock is impacting the game right now, Hindu?
Well, I think, me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. We had an instance on Sunday in the first inning where Xavier Rivas, our starter, had struck out the first 2 batters, and then he got 2 strikes on the next batter, and the batter wasn't in the box when the 10 seconds was on the clock. So they punched him out, and I got to thinking, what if that's the bottom of the ninth and they have the tying run on third and they punch that guy out? To me, it just takes away the integrity of the game. Let the kids decide it. I'm all for speeding up the game, but you also mentioned, Bo, the track man. These umpires now are being graded just like they are in professional baseball, and I think that's why you see so many walks. A guy may throw a ball, 2 balls off the plate that's 85% been a strike in the past, and it's not anymore. So hitters know that.
Right.
And they get in hitters' counts, and, when they get in fastball counts, they hit the ball all over the yard and out of the yard, and and it makes the game just as long, if not longer, because, I mean, you look at Ole Miss on Sunday, they had 2 innings where they scored 7 runs in each of those innings. So, you know, I think there's going to have to be some adjustments, but right now the rules are the rules. So, you know, teams are going to have to figure it out, and the ones that figure out sooner are going to be in a better position.
Yeah. Okay, so we're visiting with Brad Henderson, Ole Miss baseball insider, on the Out of Bounds show. Rebs have so they have 5 games this week, kind of like what MSU did last week. They'll play Louisiana Tech twice, and then they're going to Minneapolis to play in a football stadium. And the configuration is a little weird, but well, let me ask you this, Brad. I can't remember if y'all went down to the. I think back then it was like the Winn-Dixie Classic in the Superdome. I remember Mississippi State went. I think y'all went. But did you ever, while you were at Ole Miss, did you ever play in an NFL stadium or something like this, what Ole Miss is going to do this weekend?
I played in the Winn-Dixie Showdown twice.
Okay.
We would play, so it'd be the 3 Mississippi teams against, I think we played LSU, Tulane, and New Orleans. Which was a lot of fun, and it was different. But I was telling Blake before I went on, it'll be a little odd, but, you know, thank the good Lord it's inside, because it's going to be a lot colder up there than it is here.
Yeah, you and Kellum would be freezing your you-know-what off. Okay, so, Brad, Jack Kruger is a Major League Baseball player. He's in AAA, and he dealt with the clock last year. And he wrote this long essay on Twitter about it. And he brought up a couple of things. He said, look, players aren't going to like it early. Some of the fans aren't. He said, but over the course of last year, the players really, really learned, you know, after they adapted to like it. All right, here's a couple, because he said, man, baseball's a grind. When we get to August, the players will be glad there aren't 3.5-hour games. He says change is uncomfortable, but we did it in AAA. And he said the players learned to love it. But here's what else he said, and I want to throw this out to you. He said, yes, the games will be shorter, but there will be some small adjustments you may not notice as a fan. Here's one that really jumped out at me, Brad. Fast tempo requires more cardio. He said it may sound weird, but trust me, it's true. And he said less time to mentally reset in between pitches is also a grind, and less time to game plan. Your thoughts, Brad?
Yeah, I totally agree with the less time to game plan. You know, speaking on the pitch clock, you know, the head coach, when he goes out for a mound visit, only has 30 seconds. And for the most part, every time I saw Coach B go to the mound this past weekend, he got to the mound with about 15 seconds left, which means he has about 5 to 7 seconds to visit with his pitcher and then get back across the line. So, you better have a plan by the time you get out there. But I 100% agree. I think players will adjust to it. I had a coach tell me one time it takes 6 weeks to break a bad habit or create a good habit. So obviously they will adjust to it. But to me, the key, and I've never really thought about it, was the game planning, because you better be on top of it. You better be 2-3 pitches ahead in your thought process, or, you know, it could look like a circus. But, you know, I think the players, they're resilient. We're still talking about 18 to 21-year-old kids.
Absolutely.
We're only playing 56 games. Kruger's playing 140 games in AAA.
Right.
You know, these kids are playing 56. So there's a little bit of a difference there. You know, these kids have, you know, most of the time 3 days off in a week, where you know, those pro guys only have typically 1 day off.
Right.
So there's a little bit of difference there. But, no, I think he's spot on. But I think the game management part is going to be adjustment for the coaches as well, not only just the players.
Brad Henderson on the Out of Bounds show. What was your best batting average while you were at Ole Miss?
I was fortunate enough as a sophomore, I hit just over 400.
Good grief. Okay.
So that was a good year for me.
Did you like to play mind games with pitchers, and did you like to act like you were about to step in the box and then not, kind of step back out for a second, act like you were about to start getting your feet where you want them, and so on? Or what was your approach as a hitter, and did you like to play mind games, or did you just get in there and get after it?
No, it's like a free throw shooter. I had the exact same routine that a free throw shooter does. You know, he may take 3 dribbles and shoot whatever his MO is, but I didn't play mind games. I know there's some guys that do. They like to get in the box and then get back out thinking, but no, I was a creature of habit. Chewed the same bubble gum. Baseball guys are superstitious. So it was all routine for me, and I never changed it in the 4 years I was there. So the clock, it wouldn't bother me.
Okay. He mentioned here that, and I'm referencing Jack Kruger again, and we're visiting with Brad Henderson, Ole Miss baseball, as they get ready to play La Tech today and tomorrow. Brad, he mentioned here, catchers and pitchers need to be able to call a pitch before the hitter gets in the box. Otherwise, the hitter can simply wait until the last possible second and gain an unfair advantage.
Well, for us, it's that the hitter's got to be ready with 10 seconds left. So, you know, that pitcher still has another 10 seconds to kind of figure out what he's doing or go in his motion or whatever. So, again, I don't know exactly the pro rule if we're apples to apples with those guys, but to me, again, that wouldn't be an issue per se, as if a hitter gets in the box with 2 seconds left and it totally throws the rhythm of the pitcher off. So that pitcher still has 10 seconds to get everything he needs done. So, you know, again, I just don't see much of a change there in habit from a pitcher standpoint, because, you know, he may stand there for 10 seconds, but he's still going to have 10 seconds or there's going to be a strike called against the batter. So, I just don't. Okay,
let me ask you this.
I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Brad, which one do you is having more of an impact? The tight zone from the umpire or the pitch clock?
For me, it is. Okay. And it was a real struggle for our fans this weekend, because Calvin Harris, he may set up 3 balls off the plate and the pitcher may hit him right in the net and he didn't move it. Where in the past, that's been a strike. And so from a fan's perspective, they look at it and they think, man, boy, we're really getting squeezed. Well, I have the luxury of having an iPad with TrackMan on it. And to be honest with you, the pitch is not even really close. So, you know, it's different for the umpires because they're getting graded on this. But I think for the fans and for the players, they're just going to have to get used to it. But, you know, there was a lot of boos at some critical moments, and the umpire simply got it right. And so it's just an adjustment. But I think as a hitter, obviously, me being a hitter, I would have loved it, because you can pretty much sit in there and know if it's not close, it's probably not a strike, and you can get in a good hitter's count and be ready to hit. So, you know, again, but the timing of the game, I think it's going to elongate the game just simply because you're going to see more base on balls, and then you're going to see a lot more offense like we did this weekend.
Absolutely. All right, so does this favor teams that are already set offensively, especially if you can get a jump? You know, every series win is huge, Brad. And so if you can get a jump maybe in the first 4 weeks of the season, maybe a little bit longer, does this favor offensive teams that are already set and ready to roll?
Yeah, I do. I think the teams that are deeper, that really stretch the lineup 1 through 9, you know, which I think Ole Miss has done a really nice job of. I mean, when you have Peyton Chotinier who's hitting 9th, leading the team in home runs, you know, you have no easy outs, and that's a grind for a pitching staff. So I do think that's an advantage right now. But you know as well as I do, Bo, SEC lineups are usually pretty good 1 through 9. So I still think ultimately it'll come down to starting pitching, good defense, and timely hitting. But like we saw this weekend, you get to Saturday and Sunday. You know, I think there's an advantage if you have pretty good offense.
If Hunter Elliott is lost for the season, what's realistic as far as the starting rotation? And I know it doesn't have to be set in stone until like April 1. And Mississippi State and Ole Miss are just coming off national championships, in which they didn't set them until well into the season. But just kind of big picture, where do you go with that, Brad?
Yeah, I think Obviously, this weekend, I haven't heard our rotation, but I think Jack obviously will get another opportunity. I think you'll see the same three guys continue to get an opportunity, like we did with Diamond, Gaddis, and McDaniel last year, who in the end weren't our weekend guys. But, there's not enough sample size yet to kind of figure out where they're going to go. Mike had to throw a lot of true freshmen this weekend, so you hope some of those guys will emerge as well and start to push some of those weekend guys. But again, right now I think it's a coin flip. I mean, obviously, if Hunter is unable to pitch the rest of the season, it'll look different, 2 months from now. But you just hope that Jack can fill in and that Saunier becomes what everyone knows he can become. And then, you continue to get decent outings from Rivas on Sunday. So, I feel comfortable they'll stick with what they've got because those are their best guys. But obviously, no one knew of Hunter Elliott. No one knew of Dylan DeLucia till we got about midway through SEC play last year.
True. Okay. And this is a little bit different deal. I know it's early, but this is the first 5-game format for Bianco and the club coming off, the 4-game last year, right? I mean, one game makes a huge difference as far as managing your roster. I mean, your pitching staff.
Huge. And it's against a really, really good Louisiana Tech team who beat us pretty good down there 2 years ago. Lane Burr's done a tremendous job there. He's a postseason. Obviously, he's made the postseason several years in a row, hosted that year 2 years ago. And then we'll go play, we'll see Savacool again on Friday, as well as a good Minneapolis and Nebraska team, and then have to come back for a midweek with Southern Miss. So it's not an easy time, but I like it. It's going to make these kids grow up faster than they probably have to, but I think it benefits you down the road and in the long run.
Okay, so Savacool, I think I said that right. He's really good, and so what did you think about what he did well?
I thought he pitched backwards really, really well. And what I mean by that, he may go ball one, fastball away, and then he comes back with 2 breaking balls and just really did a nice job keeping us off balance. We were in that game until they hit the grand slam. It was 3-1 going into the 6th or 7th inning, and then they hit a grand slam to kind of widen that gap. But he's a special arm. He's an All-American. We knew he was going to be good. And just, it's one of those games, and I know it's cliche, but you tip your cap. He beat you that game. And offensively, they beat Ole Miss that game. He took us out of what we do well, which is getting ahead in counts. He gave up no walks. He had 9 strikeouts. And, and that's a recipe for success. And so obviously it'll be a tough test again this Friday, but Ole Miss is, obviously got to be focused right now on Louisiana Tech.
Cool. All right, so we appreciate you got a busy week, man.
Yeah, I got a busy week. I got a busy week, but hey, 75 degrees today. I mean, it's beautiful. I don't know what the weather's going to do tomorrow, but I'm just glad baseball season's back, and the energy at Swayze has been good so far. Should be good again today.
All right, bud. We'll talk next week or the next. We appreciate it, Brad Henderson.
You bet, man. You bet. Appreciate it.
Ole Miss baseball color analyst, insider, Ole Miss baseball, joining us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line, Brad Henderson. So Blake made a good point. Hey, look, it's the strike zone. It is both. And actually, I think they're tied so tight together. I saw somebody else made a great point, a baseball guy, about, it's the zone, but then you're asking the pitcher and catcher to communicate with an expedited clock. And so then that just, and look, man, you can get lost out there quickly, right? And Brad mentioned what Ole Miss is 1 through 9 offensively, and they're really, really, really good. And yeah, I mean, he mentioned Chatnier being the 9th hitter, leading the league team in home runs, but then you got those other dudes: Kemp Alderman, Calvin Harris, Jacob Gonzalez, and the list goes on and on. And on the Mississippi State side, Blake, I think they look good up and down the order at the plate. Between, there's a debate on somewhere. I can't remember where.
It's too many message boards.
maybe six-pack about taking Dakota Jordan out of the lineup. I'm like, yeah, he's going to swing and miss as a freshman. Have you lost your mind?
Yeah.
I don't understand that because the guy can change the game with one swing of the bat.
Yeah. I think
I like both lineups. It will be about the bump, but I like both lineups 1 through 9.
This is crazy to say, especially after you've seen Mississippi State have 3 games so far out of their, whatever it is, 8 that have been pretty sketchy. But I think the tight zone can help a team like Mississippi State or a team like Ole Miss if they lose Hunter Elliott, because I think it will be harder to be dominant on the mound no matter who you are. Will there always be some people who have nights where they're unhittable? Yes, because you also sometimes get an umpire who stretches that night.
Absolutely.
That's the catch of all this is it's human error, right? So there is some still change, so to speak, like a umpire, while he might be calling it tighter, still could get loose in certain spots on certain nights.
No doubt.
And so
if it's on Friday night,
you'll have some guys who will still have big nights, but I think the Friday scores this year in the SEC will be higher total runs than we've seen in recent years because of the way the league is currently set up to create action.
Okay. And Ole Miss, we get an Ole Miss Maryland rematch. That may help them against this All-American.
Yeah.
To get him again 7 days later, a little bit. Never seen him before. Now all of a sudden you get him again. You see this in MLB, but
if you're an Ole Miss baseball fan, are you concerned that you haven't heard anything else about Hunter Elliott at this point?
Absolutely.
No news is not good news in this instance, correct?
No.
I would agree with that. I
have people that know way more than me that say it's partially torn or torn.
Yeah. Which means he'd be pretty much shut down.
Right.
You'd find it hard to believe that he would come back from even a partial tear.
Right.
But yeah, we saw Mississippi State deal with this last year. Obviously, State and Ole Miss have dealt with this before, but it's always tough when it's like your main head. It's different when it's your Saturday, Sunday guy or a closer even potentially. When it's your main Friday guy, that's a tough one.
It is. Look, when Landon Sims went down last year, it was curtains, Blake.
Yeah.
And he was dominant.
I think this Ole Miss team is built better than that team last year for Mississippi State.
No question.
To withstand. But you're talking about if Hunter Elliott doesn't pitch again, that is multiple wins that you don't pick up probably over the course of the year.
Very well could be. And you're right. They're still trying to figure everything out. But I think both. This whole Cade Smith debate's interesting too in Starkville. And what their rotation could look like over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. What we know from the last 2 years from what the Rebs and Dogs did, it's never set in stone. That's for damn sure. Thanks for listening to the Out of Bounds Show on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue, the official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show. We'll go lunch today, brought to you by Fleetway Market and the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. They may still have some breakfast biscuits. They were amazing when Will brought them in last week. I had no idea. I got to have another one. Fuel up at Fleetway Market on the way to Oxford, Starkville, the Gulf Coast, Hattiesburg. Fuel up at any Fleetway Market location. Don't forget about the Market Cafe in Gluckstadt. See you tomorrow.